Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being with us for our last coffee break session. A few months ago, when the Paris Book Fair was cancelled, Frankfurt Book Fair offered us, BF, to sustain our year-long cooperation in the B2B field and suggested that we organize a series of short e-conferences that would straight to the point discuss current issues. That's how the Coffee Break interview series was born, and we are very glad to welcome you today to the last part, namely Focus on Publishers podcast. Coffee Break is organized jointly by BF and the Frankfurt Book Fair, both respectively supported by the French Ministry of Culture and the German Federal Foreign Office.
Thank you, Laurence, and welcome everyone also on behalf of the Frankfurt Book Fair. Our goal with the Coffee Break series is to offer experts a platform to tackle issues that are relevant for the publishing industry in France and Germany. The interviews are led by Olivia Snage, who is an art journalist and editor who covers the publishing industry for Publishing Perspectives, among others. And now I hand over to Olivia and our guest.
Hello. During this coffee break, we'll talk about podcasts, which got started around 2004 and have been expanding ever since. Today, it's estimated that there are over 2 million podcasts in many shapes and forms. Print books can benefit from podcasts as well, because they can engage a fan base or broaden it. Consequently, when publishing companies create podcasts, they're primarily a marketing tool run by marketing departments. US publishers were among the first to jump on the bandwagon, with Macmillan launching a podcast back in 2007. In Europe, things have been a bit slower, but they're picking up speed. Today, we have the great pleasure of speaking to Demian Sant'Unione of Suhrkamp and Sophie Perfus-Mousselon of éditions. Welcome.
Thank you.
Demian Sant'Unione is head of online and reader marketing at Suhrkamp. He studied applied literature and theater in Berlin and previously worked for the literary agency More Books and at the Goethe Institute in Paris, among others. Sophie Perfus-Mousselon is the sales and marketing director at Lattès. She has a master's degree in marketing and business from the University of Lyon and previously worked as head of products at Hachette Pratique and head of marketing at Livre de Poche. So, could you each tell us briefly about why Suhrkamp and éditions Lattès decided to get into podcasting? Perhaps, Demian, do you want to begin?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about Suhrkamp Espresso, our video podcast. Yeah, we've been carrying the idea of producing a podcast for many years. And for a long time, we've been producing videos of high quality for our titles, book trailers, or interviews, or animations. And at a certain point, we wanted to try a different approach, not to present titles one by one, but rather by bundling them up by topic and presenting them in a talk series. Yeah. Yeah, and
okay.
Then yeah, okay. Now seeing that Suhrkamp and had quite a big program. We had to sorry.
It's like you had to increase.
No, the task was to find topics that could link books from different programmatic segments together.
And you began your podcasts in what year?
In 2019, in the autumn, so 2 years ago.
Okay, because I think, Sophie, you began your podcast in a very different atmosphere. Maybe you can tell us about that a little bit.
Yes, so like Damian, we had a huge curiosity about this new audio format, and we are always trying to find new way to promote our book and also to find content for our social media. So that was the thinking going on. And then, as you all know, the lockdown arrived more than 1 year ago. And so we had no more sales, we had no more signing, and we wanted to find a way to still promote our book, to be even more active on social media, and also to try a new way to speak about books and to have our voice heard. So that's how the two podcasts we produce were born. The first one, Parole d'écrivain, is I will say, in partnership with one of our author, and she had the idea to try to make the author speak about their desire to write. And the second one, Conversation dans le noir, was born with the editorial team. And the first one, and I will speak to it later, but it's more professional, I will say. And the second one is really with what we could do at this time. So all the podcast was made by fun.
Right. So I was going to talk about specifically about the podcasts that you run, which are very different. So you each have created two podcasts, and the approaches seem very different. So the Suhrkamp podcasts are also videos. There's a strong branding image and a more straightforward approach. You have a moderator, always the same one, interviewing an author. And the Lattès podcasts are audio with more sound effects. So perhaps you can both talk about your audiences. And Sophie, you began to talk about why you chose the specific approach. So maybe you can continue, and then Demian can answer after you.
Yes, for the first one, so it's for Lattès, because we have two brands. We have Lattès and we also have Le Masque, which is a label specialized in crime fiction. So for the first one, Lattès, that was the discussion going on with Sarah Masson, which is an author in-house. And she's also a journalist, and she's working for a very famous radio, France Inter, and she's in the Père Jupiter team. So she has all the editorial and technical skills to produce a perfect podcast. And so she offers to do it. She was very very moved and very she had a lot of questions about writing, because when she experienced the first writing of her first novel, she realized how important it was for her, and really she wanted to go deep into this reflection about writing.
The creation process.
Yes.
The process of creating.
Yeah. So she jumped in to interview other authors of the house, and also because her first novel was published just before the lockdown. So she also wanted to find a way to promote her name and her book. So she was really happy to be associated with this podcast. And so that's very, yes, I said it, professional one with sound effects, voiceover.
Very produced, yeah.
We also have a music, a repetitive one, which is like a signature, and the second one, it's more authentic, I will say. And so it's by the people of the house. We try, so the concept is to have an interview with the author by phone, and we really wanted to emphasize that because at the time we couldn't meet each other, so it was really like people will experience the way they were communicating at the time. And we also try to find like a music and to compose it, but with our own skills. But we also like it very much, and we are very happy with the results.
And Demian, because yours, you have a lot of experience also making videos, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's where we try to merge our experience in doing videos with our idea of producing podcasts and this talk series. Sorry my little blackout.
This makes it more authentic.
Yeah, that was very authentic. It was just all gone. Yeah, and then we had the idea that I think the main criteria for success is the host of the show, and then we were very glad to find Max Spalek, who is a very experienced presenter, and he somehow has the ability of attracting classic Suhrkamp readers who are maybe not so much digitally experienced with a younger generation, which we want to connect to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so then the second question was, who's going to talk? Are we going to invite authors? Are we going to invite journalists? But then we thought it would be best to let our editors talk, because mm-hmm. they know the books very well. At the same time, they're not as much into the books as the authors themselves, and plus they can give background information on the project and on the process. Yeah. And
this second podcast focuses on a subject rather than a specific book, right? So
yeah, there's the second one, Suhrkamp Discourse. That's true. Mm-hmm. I've just been talking about Suhrkamp Espresso now, but we have a second one who's a bit longer, who's rather a classic talk. Two persons talking about some social issue, some topic alongside a publication. Yeah.
And you can, I think you can bring in many different books, a wide variety, right? So
yes. That's what I wanted to say at the beginning. Uh-huh. It's just that we think that people who are interested in a certain topic can be interested in a children's book as well as in a nonfiction book, and in a novel as well as in a thriller with the same topic. So in the Espresso, we are bundling several very different books. Sometimes a summer novel with a big biography treating the same issue. And in the Discourse, the second one, there's only one person, which is always an author, talking about some topic of the book. Yeah.
Okay. And since you're both in the marketing department, can you talk about what percentage of your budget is available for these podcasts, and how and where you promote them, discoverability being the big question, and lastly, if you've been able to see any concrete effects on your book sales? Perhaps Sophie, you could answer that first.
Yes, regarding Lattès, as I say, it was really spontaneous with the lockdown, so we jump into the occasion without a marketing plan or a budget right away for the promotion, but just for the production. And we are so happy to share it on social media. And we had a very nice reaction about our community liking the podcast. So it was downloaded on YouTube to be able to share it on Twitter and Facebook. So it was like a video, but with just, an image and the sound. And regarding Instagram, we did some IGTV. So it was also a video, but a format adapted to Instagram. We didn't see an effect on the sale because it was, just like we do sometimes a little video for the social media. It's more like part of a big editorial strategy to have new way to speak every day in different way about our author and our books. But then we try to make it more professional and to realize that we had this amazing content, and maybe we needed to go bigger and to arrive on the audio platform that everyone knows when we speak about podcasts. So Apple, Spotify, and so on. So we took, I don't got the word, abonnement.
Sorry? A subscription.
Thank you. We took a subscription, to be able to have our podcast available on those platforms. Mm-hmm. But as everyone knows, and that's why we're here today, podcast is very trendy. So many podcasts are downloaded every day, so it's really difficult to reach a higher position on the search engine. Sure. So then we begin to do some advertising. So that's what we choose. It's pre-roll advertising. So that means that before hearing another podcast, you will have a little message about our own podcast, mm-hmm. and we choose, of course, some a podcast that have a good match with our. But we still see also with now the advertising and the broadcasting we have everywhere, that we still have 60% of our listeners that will come from our community, from social media. And what I've learned during my research and trying to see how we can do, there is a rule. It's a US rule, but I think for everyone, to keep in mind if someone have high expectation and want to do a podcast. They say that it's €1 for the production, €1 for the promotion. That means that if you want to have a lot of ambition about the production and the podcast, you will need also a lot of budget for the promotion. As you all know, for the marketing budgets, it's not so huge. And so we are very focusing on big bestsellers, and we do classical ad, I will say, also a lot of digital, but compared to other segments, we really need to put more pressure on digital, and I think also on podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting. And Demian, you have an extra year on Sophie of experience. So what can you tell us about?
Yeah, we tried a lot. So we put all episodes, of course, on our website, on YouTube, on Facebook. We advertised on Twitter, on Instagram. We also advertised on YouTube itself. But yeah, and we established a newsletter, so you could subscribe on our website to a newsletter informing you on new episodes, which came at some point once a week, at some point every second week. But the best effects we could always see when advertising in other podcasts. That's the same thing that Sophie said. So we have these episodes dedicated to certain topics, and then we had a look for what podcasts are close to this subject. So we had an episode on capitalism, and then we found an economic podcast of two guys talking about economics, and then we advertised there, and that was very, very good, because you already target the right audience who like podcasts, who like the topic, and that was best. Plus, of course, we were lucky and had the chance to get a recommendation in the Apple podcast app. So the video podcasts can't be played in Spotify, Deezer, and so on. There's at the moment Spotify is in beta for several very well-known podcasters, but for normal podcasters, only Apple Podcast app allows to show video too. That's why we focused on marketing there. But you can't advertise it. You can pay it. You can book the recommendation. That's an editor, and she liked it, and she put it on there, and that was the moment when we had the most subscribers.
Did you find that you gained a new audience? For example, when you advertised the session on capitalism, did you?
Yes, we did. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Still, not every person interested in capitalism is also interested in children's books and in family and in, I don't know, all the other topics. But of course, we have like similar topics too. So it's quite heterogeneous, and no one will like all the episodes at the same degree, I think. But if you like the format and the way of presenting books, editors talking to Max Spalek, I think you can find more episodes with similar topics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that what is very interesting is when you do some very good content as you do, and we can target people thanks to digital. Yeah. That's a publicity advertising even more effective, because when we do subway stations, you have so many people for sure, but you have also so many people that will not read not even a book a year. And so what we saw also about the consumption of podcasts, it's that people that will listen to podcasts will be also more clean, or to consume culture, to buy books. So that's a very nice audience to speak to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and this sort of leads into what you've learned over the past 2 years. This would be for Suhrkamp, and the past year for Lattès, concerning your podcasts, and because things are moving so fast, whether it's socially and digitally, also technically. So what is the direction that you'd like to take with your podcasts or videos? For example, Suhrkamp, what direction are you moving in?
So I learned a lot because our video podcast is quite close to TV shows at the moment, and that's a format that can be improved for web content, because simple example is an intro of 20 seconds is not necessary. We have like a little opener for 20 seconds, but of course everyone knows no one on Facebook waits 20 seconds for a video to begin. So we have like little things like this where we know we have to do a little redesign for the next episodes. We will do that in autumn. And the other thing is that, of course, we merged two things. We merged video with podcast in order to keep up with a certain audience and not losing another one. But I think at the same time, it would be good to use all podcast channels that are available. So also the apps that we can't use now. So we are planning to add an audio podcast too.
Audio. So, okay.
So we'll have the video podcast going on in a refreshed way, in a redesign, and we'll add an audio podcast or a classic Talking Heads format. Yeah.
And will the audio podcast be very sort of produced, or will it be sort of more natural, freestyle?
No, it will be produced. But I think key for podcast to be successful is the natural way of producing. So there is no need to like avoid mistakes or the way how talks move. So sometimes you have redundancies, or you have people like me looking for words, and in a show you would maybe cut that out, but I don't think that this is necessary for podcasts, because they are this authentic because you're just listening to a talk. So it will be produced, of course, because it has to be made professionally. Still in a close, in an attractive way. It won't be like a radio show. It must not be a radio show, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And Sophie, how about you? What has this past year been like, and what are you planning for the future?
We love podcasts. We love audio. We love this kind of content. Because, as I said first, it was really nice to have new content for our social media, also to try new things, just to learn and try things. And what we want to do now, as we are very happy about the content and people seems to be happy too, we just want to invest more, and so to put budgets, what we did with so little, I will say, budget last year. So we want now to go to boost all the content we did and we're going to do in the future. We are also trying to valorize, I don't know if it's the right verb, to be able in our website to valorize more this content, because right now, as we did not have an audio player, we put some YouTube video, as I said. So we are trying now to update our website with an audio player to be able to share it very in a more effective way, and to continue.
Because we go back again to discoverability, right? This is
Yes.
a very important part of it. Yeah, and do you think that in France there's a particularity of where people go for their podcasts?
I'm not sure I've got the right answer, so I don't know. But what I saw is that I think it's more than 5 million people each day in France that are listening some podcasts. So I know the market is huge. I know the market is growing, and I think that's mostly in the platform we know, like Spotify, Deezer, and Apple, depending also on the device you've got.
Of course.
The website, it will be more, I will say, for our a more classical audience, which is not connected to social media or platform like we just announced. So it's more for I will say people over a certain age.
And Demian, in Germany, do most people, I mean, do you have an idea, or is it also sort of a combination, like what Sophie says, where people go to get their podcasts?
No, I think the apps are clear. So people use famous apps. Spotify, it's Deezer, it's Apple, and it's Google Podcasts. I think nothing else. But yeah, I agree that you have to put the things on your website in order not to lose the others, because the audience of these apps are clear. So older loyal readers won't have these apps, and you don't. I don't think that we want to risk to lose them.
No, of course. And they're the ones with the buying power, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you very, very much. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I'm sure that you'll be producing super podcasts in the future. And again, thank you for participating in this coffee break.
Thank you.
And I wanted to say that the 3 coffee break sessions, which include this one, the first one was a discussion on the future of book fairs, and the second was on rights and censorship, will be available on the Frankfurt Buchmesse's YouTube playlist. And people can find the link in the chat right now. And they'll begin on July 9th. Moreover, the BIEF and the Frankfurt Book Fair look forward to seeing you next year for more Franco-German professional events. So thank you very, very much. And it's been a pleasure to speak to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Demian.
Thank you.